July 9th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we would like to live forever, maybe. We're not really sure, so we did a show about it.
Let's do this.
It's Thursday, so you might be wondering why I'm going to bring this up, but I'm not talking about it. The thing that I'm talking about is not the topic. The topic is the manner in which the thing was enacted.
Why do we, I think that's one thing we've always done in Geeknights is whenever we're going to talk about something, we sort of delay saying what the something is.
I know, and
why do we have that shtick?
As I was
saying
saying
Where did that shtick come from?
I was thinking, why didn't I just say it? Where did that even come from? I didn't even plan on doing that.
It's like we don't do it in regular talking in real life. We don't do it at panels when we're talking to people. We only do it on the show, usually at the beginning of a segment. Why do we do it? Where did it come from? Why can't we stop doing it?
It's just like caveman talk back in the day. We couldn't stop that. We weren't even sure when it started, but one day we forgot how to use verbs.
From now on, I'm making a conscious effort not to do that, and that's it.
So anyway.
Otakon, 2009.
Anime convention. We go every year. We've been going since like 2002. We've been panelists there since 2003. And we always do like panels and events and stuff at these big anime and gaming conventions, and there really aren't any Thursday conventions we go to yet. I guess Open Everything would count, but anyway.
Yep.
So they finally, really late this year, published the schedule for the convention, at least most of the schedule.
Yeah, they always publish the schedule, before, some amount of time before the con, usually a week or few. And the schedule A, it's looking like a pretty good schedule. I'm liking the violent movies I'm seeing. I'm liking the events. I'm liking, Fred Choate panels. I'm liking concerts every day.
What I'm really liking, mostly, is that because we're only doing 3 things and we don't have any other stuff to do, I can pretty much do whatever I want in this schedule.
And no Artist Alley, yeah. Secondly, right, they did a good thing. They made this schedule used to be published as a PDF, right? Which was nice for printing it out, but it was not so nice because they really couldn't update it. So now they've got an interactive schedule where you can click on the individual events to see their descriptions, and they're going to update the schedule in real time. So if you're at the convention and you go to the website, the schedule will be updated like to the minute. So if something gets canceled or moved, you can always check the website even during the con and find out, and that's a good thing. But they don't have the PDF. And the schedule, the interactive schedule, is unprintable.
Well, here's what I would say. Conventions like Otakon have the resources. They could definitely get someone to do it. Hell, Conrad could do it trivially. They should make an iPhone app. And the only thing it does is every year you have the live Otakon schedule.
You don't even need an iPhone app. You just need a web page that is iPhone, specifically done,
Yeah, the thing is, I'm sure they'll add that. This is just a situation where something was just good enough to be used a year early think, if they didn't turn it on now, they wait till next year.
Yep.
So, anyway.
This is actually good because this actually, putting the descriptions, though, is very good because it saved me a lot of time. Usually when we get to the con, we have to, read the descriptions of all the movies, all the violent movies, and all these panels that have really bad titles. You don't know what they're about.
Yep.
You have to sit there, in the hotel, reading these things in a little pocket guide. Now I read them beforehand, so it's going to save me a lot of time and thinking at the con.
Now, the interesting thing about doing panels and being speakers at events like this is that I have to do a lot of, communication with the people on the back end. You're basically being the producer for Geeknights. And every convention is totally different. Some, like PAX or the New York Anime Festival, the New York Comic Con, are super professional, and it's literally basically, because I talk the lingo and I give them what they want, they'll ask for hey, so what's the ad copy you want in the book? This many words, give it to me by this day, and it's very straightforward and professional. Some cons like Kineticon, one year we showed up, we looked at the con book, we saw what panels they had scheduled us for, and then we showed up at those and ran those panels.
The year prior to that, though, was the exact opposite. We showed up, they knew who we were, they gave us folders with our names on them, full of all the information we needed, with itineraries and badges and the whole thing.
That was the con where one of the panels that we did, the description in the con book basically said, yeah, we've done this panel at Otakon and Anime Ball, these other cons, and we'd like to do it at Kineticon. We need this much equipment, blah, blah, blah. And that was what they put in the description in the con book.
Oh, they obviously did not read what they're putting in the con book.
And, the professionalism varies from con to con. Anime Boston, despite being a fan-run con like Otakon, probably the most together con outside of the professional cons we've dealt with. But Otakon this year, clearly humans did not read what they were putting in the schedule, because we're doing 3 panels, and I'd like to read for you the panel description that is in the book from Anime You Should See. This is a frank, entertaining presentation and discussion of the core anime that any self-describing fan would want to see at least once. Presented in the quote-unquote TED style, much like our Beyond Dungeons & Dragons event, it's snappy, focused, runs up to 55 minutes. Fan will leave with a handout noting all the anime we discussed with a not-so-subtle checklist attached. That wasn't the description I gave Otakon to put in the con book. That was me telling Otakon what the panel was.
Yeah, that was not language that was from us to the con goer. That was language
snappy,
for
focused,
us.
and runs up to 55 minutes.
Yeah, it was the language of us speaking to the panel staff. See, this, actually, I'm going to blame technology. And
I will too.
In
the
the days before copy-paste, someone would have had to read it and type it in a typewriter, or read it and write it with a pen, and there's no way they would make this kind of mistake. But because of copy-paste, this sort of job, putting together the con book, becomes manual labor as opposed to, a literate labor. You don't need a scribe, you just need, a pair of hands. And thus, they just copy and paste blindly. It probably takes forever because they're selecting, copy, paste. Select, copy, paste.
The best part is,
and they're not looking, they're just trying to get it fucking done.
It was even worse we're doing Beyond Dungeons and Dragons, which, quote, and they didn't even get all of it. Like, this is like an excerpt from the middle of just one of the paragraphs.
Well, they probably just picked, the number of words that they needed.
This is a slick professional lecture on the nature of role-playing games. Now, slick professional lecture. Am I going to put that in, the description in a con book? That's so, I don't know, conceited and weird sounding.
That's very bad.
Anyway.
You're making us look bad, but their mistake.
With a focus on the idea that the systems most people use, D&D, or more appropriately for Otakon, Besm, is in no way facilitate by nature good or enjoyable role-playing. : the game and the roles are not intrinsically intertwined. Either of the above titles works. Because there was a discussion where I pointed out that we could call it either Beyond Dungeons & Dragons or Beyond Besm, because Besm is this anime role-playing system, but no human read this clearly.
Clearly, whoever put the con book together did not read.
So,
I hope that's not in the printed book.
If it is,
it probably is. It's already.
We're much like at other cons. We're going to have to read and point out the ludicrousness of it at all of the panels.
Of course.
Man, Otakon, you're always so close, but Jesus.
Well, I think I'm beginning to think that, I'm going to go with what we said before in our How to Fix Anime Cons show, And all these cons have all these problems, and they blame these problems on not enough staff, yada, yada, yada. And basically, I'm going to say, tough shit, you're not doing your job, and such. That's not an excuse anymore in my book.
Well, here's the thing. With this in particular, it is clearly a case of solving the right problem the wrong way. Because the problem is, it's very difficult to get the con schedule together. It's very difficult to get it together on time. Of course, I know ways to solve that, but anyway, aside, there are all these issues with getting panels together and having a schedule ready and available prior to the con early enough to where you can print it for the con.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of getting someone smart to do it in a proper way or anything, they decided to invest in technology. Some sort of automated system where, they take the submissions from us, from this form, and just directly translate them into some sort of schedule, which can break down in ways that are apparent right here.
Yep. Oh, well.
Yeah, we're gonna be at Otakon, though.
And those panels are not, I guess the descriptions sort of tell you what
they kind of do. I'm curious who's going to show up and what they're going to think.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Hopefully, we can rely on the fact that most people just look at the titles and don't look at the descriptions.
Yes. Also, the fact that I called Anime You Should See, Cover Your Bases, : Anime You Should See. And in the email they sent me back, they just called it Cover Your Bases. But in the schedule, they called it Anime You Should See. So I'm expecting them to call it, I don't know,
Cover You Should See.
No, I'm expecting the actual description in the title to be something.
Anime Your Bases.
To be something like, thanks and cheers. Let me know if you need any other information. Rim Geeknights.
All right, we should maybe call them and let them know. I mean, it's still a week out.
I sent him an email, but too little, too late.
Probably,
Yeah.
most likely. Yeah, maybe you should I mean, at least one or two cons we've gone to before will actually send us the descriptions to proof them. You know,
Every con does that except the fan cons.
oh really?
PAX, you realize PAX I have an ongoing dialogue with them to where they'll email me and ask me to confirm the panels and back and forth. And the New York Anime Festival, they actually have copy editors, New York Comic Con too, who will suggest descriptions. And then, we go back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, you want to do some news or something like that?
Okay, I got a news here. This is an interesting story, and while there's a lot of kind of viral marketing-ness about it, the story itself is pretty interesting. To sum it up, a musician was traveling, flying on United Airlines. I've flown on United Airlines. Fuck United Airlines. But anyway, I digress.
Everything is not JetBlue sucks.
Because
unless it's foreign.
When I say I flew United Airlines, I mean I've never successfully flown United Airlines. Every time I've ever tried to fly United Airlines, my flights have been canceled or I've been bumped. But anyway, so they broke someone's guitar who was traveling. And apparently he looked out the window, watching the luggage get loaded, and he saw them just throw a guitar case and clearly break it. And, he assumed, and it was pretty obvious it was his guitar case, so he tells the staff.
Not too many guitar cases per flight.
They don't care. And sure enough, when he gets to his destination, guitar is smashed. So what does he do? He goes through the process and says, hey, look, you broke my guitar. Give me the money to fix it. And the airline's like, no, not going to do that.
Really?
So he's like, all right, United, I'm going to make 3 internet music video songs that I will compose about you and how you broke my guitar.
Oh.
And they still ignored him. And then the first video came out, and they bought him a new guitar.
Internet win.
The internet, well, I find it interesting.
See, here's the thing I don't understand, right? This works so well on United, right? How come this doesn't work on, say, Scientology? You think Scientology would see the first video and be like, oh, shit.
Well, Scientology does, but their answer is to sue the people who put the videos up.
Why didn't Delta go down that road?
I don't know. Maybe because they don't have any money? I don't know. I find it funny. And it's interesting that we're seeing more and more that media, the democratization of media will, in the end, give people a very substantial power over entities that in the previous, pre-democratized media world had power over them. It's kind of this reverse where you can create on your own immense bad publicity with almost no proper effort. But then, at the same time, you only have this power if you have the ability to rise up from the mass of the democratized media. If everyone's publishing videos, your video has to be awesome or no one will care.
Yeah, I'd also like to point out, this guy has skill at country music and video making. Someone else who had a guitar broken that did not have as much talent would be far less able to get their video, to get noticed and, get their money back.
Yep. Case in point, look at podcasts. Who's listening to Otaku Generation? Oh.
People, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
They got to have some listeners. Are they still around even?
I have no idea. As far as I'm concerned, us and Anime World Order are the only podcast in the world.
No,
With anime, at least. Fast Karate is basically the 24 podcast now.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, the best thing is you can watch the music video on YouTube. And it's pretty good, though. I warn you, if you don't like country music, you won't like the video.
Yep. All right, so this is a story probably better for a Tuesday, but it's brand new news, and I hate it when it's it always seems like we do a Tuesday show, and then on the Wednesday there's all this big gaming news. It's like fuck you.
I've got so much gaming news.
All right, so
it's crazy.
It's always the day at we did a Monday show. Google OS. It's like fuck you. We do the show on Monday. Tell us on Sunday. All right. Anyway, or at least tell us Monday at work, not Tuesday. So this is sort of a big gaming news, but I want to sort of tell the whole story here. Way back in the day, there was a company called the FASA Corporation.
FASA. I still have my Second Ed Shadowrun handbook.
FASA. I'm not gonna. You can go look up what that stands for. And they made a game called Battle Droids, but they got sued. Kind of. There was trouble, so they changed it to BattleTech. And BattleTech was big. It was a tabletop miniatures war game. And then there was a role-playing game called MechWarrior. And then there was a video game called MechWarrior. And then there was MechWarrior 2, which is one of the greatest PC games of all time. And there was MechWarrior 3, not so great. There's MechWarrior 4. I didn't even know it existed.
As I point out, the last comment in the thread in our forum about this was, quote, there was a MechWarrior 4?
Yeah, I don't know there was a MechWarrior 4 because there was a Mech Assault, and I think there might even been a Mech Assault 2 for the Xbox, which are much less simulate-y, because the MechWarrior games are very simulate being in a mech. The Mech Assault games were very arcade shooter. There was even BattleTech VR, which is some amazing thing that I think someone still has a bunch of pods and drives them around to places. And there was two games, I think they were like BattleTech Tactics or Command or something like that. They were basically, more like the turn-based strategy game, but on the computer for Windows 95 or something. And I think both of those you can get for free, maybe somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, so what happened was eventually, right, Facet was doing its thing, and they also did Shadowrun and some other stuff, but Microsoft bought them. And that is why you got Mech Assault and Mech Assault 2 on the Xbox 360, and I think Microsoft made MechWarrior 3 and 4. I'm not, I guess they licensed someone else to do it.
Microsoft has such deep pockets that with almost any endeavor that they want to undertake, they can basically just keep making failures over and over and over again and just look at the market and then just incrementally improve until they make money.
Yep. So you might remember, if you listen to the other Tuesday shows, I did a news about WizKids Games, which was the company that did the Mage Knights and the Hero Clicks and the Clicks, right? The Click Company. And they did a MechWarrior Click game, and they also had a subsidiary called Catalyst Game Labs that did like that basically took the classic BattleTech from Microsoft. So they were doing the tabletop BattleTech parts, right? Well, WizKids is gone, but through some machinations that I do not know, Catalyst Game Labs is there and is stronger than ever. I thought that WizKids going away was going to be bad for BattleTech, but I was wrong. I was so wrong, because not only are there these amazing video trailers going around of MechWarrior 5, which is just going to be called MechWarrior, which is the new MechWarrior video game that will come at some point for PC and Xbox that looks amazing. Who knows if it'll play amazing, but it looks amazing. MechWarrior 4 and all of its expansions are now free for downloading, or they will be free for downloading very soon on the Catalyst Game Labs website.
Whoa.
And, Classic BattleTech is no longer called Classic BattleTech. It's just called BattleTech. So I think what they've done is they've sort of fixed the naming, right? It's no longer Classic BattleTech for the tabletop. It's just BattleTech. And the video game is MechWarrior. And I'm not sure though, I think MechWarrior, the tabletop roleplay game, is to dead. I can't confirm that though, but that's what I'm thinking. And I think that's a good way to go with the naming. BattleTech for the tabletops and MechWarrior for the video games. But regardless, one of our favorite things in the world, BattleTech, is coming back.
BattleTech.
Get out the way of my Gauss rifle, bitch.
We have such good memories of playing that somewhat unintelligible game late into the night at RIT.
Hit you my jump jets in the face.
I wonder if Pete Hill still has it, that character sheet, the one mech sheet. He had a perfect
quad
80-ton
mech won't go down.
It was an 80-ton mech, fully loaded. There is not a single scratch on it whatsoever. It is pristine, except that
Gauss rifle to the face.
Gauss rifle to the head. No head. Mech's dead. If we were playing the campaign, oh my god, the salvage.
Oh man, the salvage. Yeah, no, but you gotta check out these trailers, like especially the one where the dude ejects after the Atlas grabs him. Oh shit.
I have hope. I have guarded optimism.
I'm looking for any. Look at this. This suddenly, like in the past week, the LucasArts, the BattleTech. If you bring back the TIE Fighter and you bring back the MechWarrior, and you bring it back proper, I'll have an excuse to buy that stupid Logitech joystick. Please give me that excuse.
It's like suddenly PC gaming, PC gaming's been up and down forever, but PC gaming the way I want it has been almost resurging. It's so close. All these games are just right on the horizon.
And if nothing else, let's play some tabletop BattleTech.
But anyway, things of the day. I have two things of the day. One is an actual thing of the day, and one is just too important not to talk about. One, here is an archive of photos of every single phone booth that still exists on the island of Manhattan in New York City. There is one at 101st Street, one at 100th Street, one at 90th Street, and one at 66th Street, all on West End Avenue.
I know more phone booths than that. I pass phone booths on the way to work.
Where? A fully enclosed, proper phone booth.
Oh, fully enclosed.
Not
a
phone alcove.
See, there's plenty of
a phone nook.
See, there's plenty of payphones that have, they're on the street and they have little things around them, but they don't have actual doors like Superman uses.
No, I'm talking a Clark Kent phone booth.
Yeah, not too many of those. Not too many of those were ever in Manhattan, were they?
There were a ton. They're all gone.
Oh,
phone
wow.
booth, a.k.a. a tiny bum apartment.
Oh, now I know why they're all gone. Tiny bums lived in them.
But there are 4. There are pictures of them.
All
But
right.
much more importantly, Tornado Potato.
Tornado potato.
Tornado Potato is a thing that was in Korea.
That's
South Korea.
That's a nice Stan Lee would love the tornado potato.
Yeah. Oh my God. It has the same feel as a rust hurricane. But anyway, the tornado potato is something to behold. I will link to a picture of it, but we didn't really have them in the US so much, but they kind of exploded around the world. And whenever something explodes around the world, it eventually ends up in Wildwood, New Jersey.
Home of schlock.
I mean, that is where there's the year-round Christmas store. That is where DDR landed after it was popular everywhere else in the country. And now I have a picture I'm looking at right now of Tornado Potato on the boardwalk right next to the Polish water ice.
Oh, Paul, you can get a Polish water ice and a tornado potato.
They're right next to each other. I can see the Polish water ice. It is right there.
Are there dancing girls in the
No,
Polish?
there's 2 schlubby-looking guys.
I wonder what used to be where the tornado potato currently
It's
is.
between the Polish water ice and that Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, so that wasn't. That was. I don't remember
know what
where
was there.
Wasn't
Something-
the Dunkin' Donuts very close to the McDonald's and the movie theater and the zombies?
It is, but I think
It's to the right of that, right?
I think what used to be there is one of those generic fry shit places.
Could be.
Not the fry shit place where we did the epic deep fried pizza, but nonetheless, I'm kind of excited about eating the trendy tornado potato.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, it doesn't look too bad to me. It's basically one potato. They put it through a slicey machine, that makes it into one solid spiral of potato. They flavor it up. They fry it up.
And to quote
It's
someone on
basically
the
one
internet,
potato worth of French fry.
they then put some schmutz on it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's what you do with the potato.
But the thing is, looking at it, I'm skeptical as to whether it tastes as good as Curly's fries.
Well, it's so gimmicky, and Curly's Fries basically just cuts a potato into 4 pieces and fries it.
Yep.
You can't beat that.
It's kind of hard to beat because it's so potatoey.
I mean, diddly dee potatoes.
Really deep potatoes. All right.
That's all I got.
That's all you got.
That's all I got.
Speaking of tornadoes.
Wow, that was a segue I didn't even intend.
Yes, we did intend that. We
I didn't.
intended it very much.
I had no
it was
idea.
obvious.
No idea.
You knew it.
So Scott has a video
So-
about something.
So there's snakes on planes.
What? You're going way out.
But there's no snakes on trains.
You're going to pull it back in? You've
Pulling
almost
it back
reeled,
in.
You've almost reeled it back in.
Almost. But what there are on trains are people, cameras, train cars, and tornadoes. What happens when a big, fucking heavy steel freight train, probably the heaviest, like this incredibly, incredibly heavy moving thing, meets a tornado? A very, very powerful thing. It's like, who's going to win? Is the tornado just going to sort of blow around and send all this stuff flying while the train sits there going, yeah, whatever, I'm a fucking train, can't move me? Or is the train going to go, oh, fuck, tornado, whoa, and blow away? And it'll be crazy because this incredibly heavy thing gets blown away like a paper leaf. Watch this video, find out.
It's pretty epic. You
One
can
thing
tell
that-
when the trees are all fine and then suddenly the trees start moving, it's about to happen.
Yeah, once the rain starts coming down, there's no going back. And also, one interesting thing about this video is usually when you see videos of tornadoes, it's like the tornado is sort of like this opaque mass of dust, in a spiral, right? So usually when the tornado actually hits, you can't see anything. All you see is, and then you see the destruction afterwards. In this one, the tornado doesn't seem to be like built up yet. So it isn't, you can see the entire video. You can see everything perfectly clearly moving around, and it's epic.
Granted, we're not going to link to it, but we were watching all these other videos of trains being subject to tornadoes, And there's this one where basically a train
It's
is stopped.
surprising that trains meet with tornadoes so often.
Either that or think about it. What are you doing when you're driving a train? You're not the one actually at the controls. You're just like an engineer hanging out in the back. You're sitting there with your webcam, doing whatever. But the video made it just for the fact that as the train is frantically backing up, they pass this other train, and a guy's like, hey, where are you going? And the guy's like, I'm getting the hell out of here.
That was really funny. Because you didn't see any destruction in that video, but you saw the guy, you heard the guy say, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yep, so no strife, no gonads. Just
His train's going backwards while there's a tornado out in the distance.
I gotta point this out. I'm not gonna link to it. No thing of the day. I have a third thing of the day. No link.
Good God. Save him for later.
No, I can't. The outrage is just boiling through. Sears and Kmart put out the Christmas shit.
What?
Just after the 4th of July, they brought it out.
You're bullshitting
No,
me.
I'm not. Quote, Sears typically waits until November 1st to unveil its holiday merchandise, which is already bullshit. At least wait until after Thanksgiving. Good God.
Yep.
Halloween, but still.
It's not even.
Quote, but with the recession putting a crimp in spending, the retailer is hoping to attract holiday shoppers early.
What, they got Christmas trees and shit?
They have got their Christmas stuff out.
Pixar didn't happen.
I'll find some pics, but anyway.
Still.
Good God.
All right, so today, people always seem to like the shows where it's all philosophies and intellects.
You mean philosophical and intellectual?
Shh.
Notice how I said intellectual?
I'm trying to not be those things.
You're also trying to avoid actually bringing up the topic.
God damn it. So we want to talk about immortality, but I don't know in what aspect we will discuss it, because you read lots of things, in lots of entertainment media, this topic always starts to come up. Like, there'll be something like Galaxy Express 39, which would be like, hey, go get a robot body and live forever. But is that really something you want to do? Is the beauty of life gone, or elves, token-esque elves, is life, now meaningless because you live forever?
Yeah, well, look at Burning Wheel, the way they set it up. The races that are special, the elves eventually get too sad to deal with it anymore. The dwarves eventually get too greedy to deal with it anymore. The orcs get too hate-filled to do anything anymore. And humans live awesome lives and die when they're supposed to.
Yep. When they're supposed to, right? And it's like, I'm sure that, individual human beings like to live longer than the short time we have, because clearly you can't accomplish everything in, whatever limited time. But forever is perhaps too long, maybe.
Well,
and,
it's tricky.
This is discussed often in many, many books and movies and all sorts of things. And I figure we can kill a show talking about this.
Yep. Now, I'm sure we could do more shows about this, detailed shows. There's like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and like 10 Thursday shows about this.
Yep.
I mean, the societal ramifications, the economic ramifications, but I don't know. We're just going to kind of wing it from here. So are we talking about everlasting tuck immortality, or I don't age past 22 immortality, or cyborg body immortality?
Well, I don't know what everlasting tuck is. I assume it's a story of a guy who is everlasting.
So everlasting tuck is the story of a family who is basically, if you drink from the spring that you find somewhere, you're immortal perfectly. There is no possible way to die. You are
So you're also invincible.
You are invincible, immutable, and immortal.
So even if you get shot, you're not even going to hurt?
You cannot in any way be harmed or die forever.
So you can't get sick.
When the Earth explodes in the far future,
you're going to be floating in space.
You'll be cast out into space to drift into whatever you drift into.
Well, see, that's pretty horrible. See, that's one thing,
well,
right?
Notice how that is also the immortality in Phoenix.
That's true.
Of course, no one gets that until,
that.
One person gets it, and it sucks.
Yeah. No, see, that's an interesting kind of immortality, because you got to realize, people only want to live as long as there are, new things to do, because no matter what, some people can deal with boredom better than others, right? But with infinite time, you're eventually going to run out of new stuff. So unless the world can progress faster than you can do things, you're all set. So right now, the year that we're living in is a good time to be immortal, because people are creating arts and entertainments and technologies faster than a human being who is not, modified in any way.
Well, look, I mean,
consume them.
More media is created in a year than I
More
can
porn is filmed,
consume.
and more than 24 hours of porn is filmed every 24 hours.
Never mind the porn.
Yeah. So, and that's just the porn, right? So that doesn't include the books and the movies and the internets and right. So, it's a good time to be immortal now. But if, say, it was caveman times, it'd be a very bad time to be immortal. And if
No, but then at the same time, if you're immortal, maybe you'll become some sort of Steppenwolf. But at the same time, you'll be the one who has the multi-generational perspective, and you will basically become the like emperor god of all humanity.
Yes, but eventually you'll be bored being emperor god, and you'll want to be hobo.
No,
and then
because
you'll be hobo, and then you'll be
by being emperor god, you can then elevate society around you in the exact perfect image of what you want it to be.
But eventually, getting what you want will be bored, and you have to get what you don't want.
Yeah, well,
but you can't get what you don't want because
of all
you're
the people who have described that sort of immortality in literature, I think R. Scott Bakker has put it in the best.
Says Swatha never shits.
No,
not
at all.
one?
That's not at all what I want to bring up. Says Swatha
you don't
never
think about it. If
shits.
you're immortal, you know how much you're gonna have to shit. There's a lot of shitting going on.
Says Swatha never shits was more an example of a moment when I put down a book and laughed out loud.
I laughed mightily. Mighty lulls.
The non-men. I remember the fact that they're destroyed solely by the fact that they have been given immortality. The fact that they live forever. They can be killed by other things, but they are immortal, but they're not invulnerable. But the fact that they can live so long, eventually they've experienced everything the world has to offer, and they end up kind of being forced to either seek out painful, surprising, horrifying events simply so that there is something interesting, something novel, something to remember, or else they lose themselves because they've seen everything and everything kind of blends together.
Yeah, that's why, the kind of immortal where you can end it when you want to end it is a good kind, because then you can do as much as you want. And if you feel like, well, it's going to take a real long time before anything new happens, or, oh shit, I'm floating in space and I can't move because we didn't invent rocket ships, you can just end it.
As Scott Johnson always says, if you would ever want to end it, if you could ever conceive of being bored, you don't deserve immortality because you clearly have not attained the level of sentience required to appreciate it.
Well, that's true in some ways.
Mytel has the same thing. How well can you handle boredom, Tetsuro?
Yeah. But, in some ways, though, I mean, it's just a fact of the universe we live in, right? It's like we happen to live in this universe.
The world we live
yes.
in.
And this universe, while it is very, very
living.
vast, right? It is not perhaps infinitely vast as far as we can tell.
It depends. Quantumness. I mean,
Yes.
maybe it is infinite.
And, while you could say sit on a planet and watch life evolve, eventually you're going to do that 3 or 4 times, and see life evolve. So it's sort of like, and then, the universe that we live in also, at least from what we can tell right now, appears to be very repetitive, with, you look and an atom has electrons going around it, and a star has planets going around
But
it,
then
and the galaxy has stars going around the middle.
Look at the Phoenix idea that infinite time, you are eventually going to be able to create things with which you can transcend the world.
Perhaps.
I mean, given infinite time, you will theoretically, if the quantum theory of, divergence, that every possible event, every possibility spawns off into other universes forever is, then you could experience anything that could ever exist ever, and there's an infinite number of those things.
Yep, but that assumes that there are other universes to get to. Let's say you discover all the science there is to discover. You have the perfect, you completely understand. You achieve through your immortality and, your quest for knowledge. You as a result, achieve omniscience. There's nothing more to know.
But that comes down to the fundamental question. Is the universe discrete or not? Are there fundamental units or not?
But let's say you know one way or the other. You find out what the answer is, whether it's A or B.
Another.
Then what are you going to do?
So that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So,
Yeah.
there is, from what it looks like through the current situation of our universe as we can see it in laws of physics, it looks like there is a dead end in our universe, at which point there would be not much new. However, I guess I could imagine a universe in which there would be infinite things to do, and immortality would be very, very desirable.
But even then, supposing that I get to a point, I am immortal, and I am immutable, and I am invulnerable. So I cannot die. I cannot end my consciousness. It is absolutely impossible for me to end it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing left to do.
You're gonna go crazy.
Maybe.
Maybe.
What happens?
I
mean,
It sucks.
Maybe, but at that time, what happens with a self-reflexive able to learn conscious intelligence?
See, now what would really help that situation be omnipotence, because, I mean, obviously, if you're omnipotent, you could just create things that would interest you. You could, you could imagine, the universe that I can imagine that would be infinitely entertaining. I could just create it and go live in it.
Now, Scott, before we go any further, I just want to point out the fact that you have not seen The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya really takes a lot out of this conversation. Because that's what this show is about in some ways. That show is not about what you think it's about.
It's not about dancing?
Well, it is about dancing.
Oh, okay. Well, I still want to watch it then. If it wasn't about, I thought it was about dancing, which is why I was going to watch it someday.
But I have
if you were just telling me it wasn't about dancing. So
I'm pulling the Bato where I keep bringing up quotes, but I can't quote or reference Haruhi like I can R. Scott Backer because you have not experienced it. Of course, even R. Scott Backer, you didn't get to the point of, I remember the slaughter of children.
No, because I don't remember the slaughter of children.
Because the fact that he remembers the slaughter of children is one of the only threads he can cling to remind himself that he still exists.
Yeah, that's another thing, is the fragility of the human mind, right? Imagine if you were some sort of other thing, like say you were an immortal rat, right? The rat has a much simpler mind, so his whole life, even if he lived forever, he wouldn't have any qualms about it. He'd just be like, eat, 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 eat. Stink, 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 eat, eat, eat.
What if you are completely immutable, not just in body, but in mind?
You couldn't learn anything? You couldn't forget anything?
Like the Terminator before they set him back to read-write memory.
Well, then it doesn't really matter, because you're not even going to know that you're immortal. You're like a goldfish. You're not remembering anything.
Yeah.
So you might as well just be a robot.
But then, what about the interesting situation of, can I transcend by changing? Can I find ways to transcend with technology my own mental limitations such that maybe I can force myself to forget and thus be able to be reborn and experience everything all over again?
But that's no different than killing yourself.
Yes, but it is a way to effectively end your consciousness and kill yourself while still being permanently immortal and immutable.
Well, only your body will be immortal, but your body isn't the important part. The consciousness is the important part. So really, being immortal is not a problem of body, even though bodies are the reason you're not immortal. It's about maintaining your ego or whatever. Well,
that's the other really. Maybe we take this from a completely different perspective. What about the pure philosophical perspective? Though I noticed, and I was talking to Emily about this a while ago, I was talking to a bunch of people about this independently. There are many philosophical kind of lenses. There are many philosophical perspectives. And any idea, any situation, any philosophy, any world, any view, anything can be explained and described and debated from any number of philosophical perspectives. And I've noticed that for the past decade or so, I have always fallen back on the perspective of solipsism, because it's kind of the situation where you can make any circuit with NAND gates. So I only use NAND gates and I can still make any circuit, but at the same time, what maybe would be more interesting if I used ORs and NOTs as well.
It would be more interesting. It would be less efficient, and it would achieve the same result.
But as a result, I tend to always fall back on solipsism. And
what's wrong with solipsism?
Well, immortality from my pragmatic solipsistic worldview comes down to the fact that I have to assume that my consciousness is immortal, because I've never experienced a world where my consciousness did not exist. I cannot conceive of a world where my consciousness does not exist. That is not purely a pragmatic, projection. And I cannot conceive truly of a way to end my consciousness that is absolute.
Well, I think the thing...
all right, the final point
that's
here...
a little bit ridiculous.
Well, no, because the final point is that even if my consciousness were to be ended, there is no way I could know. So there is no point in conceiving of the end of my consciousness, because I could not ever experience it.
You experienced right before the end of it.
Do you really, though? Because as long as you are conscious, you are still conscious. The absolute...
You're less conscious.
But are there lines? Is there a point at which you are not a conscious being anymore?
Well, think about it. You go to sleep, right?
Yes, but at the same time...
And there's a point at which you're sort of in between sleep, but not quite awake.
Not really, because you're still conscious and self-reflective, but then you start to forget yourself. But then there's the point at which you wake up again, And that raises the interesting question of maybe we're not even immortal between days. It's very likely that when I go to sleep or I'm knocked out or something, the contiguous thread of my consciousness might very well die, and a new one is booted the next morning.
That's all very nice philosophies, but I think that the evidence stacks up quite against you.
What evidence? All the evidence of the world is from the external perspective that I cannot trust completely.
Yes, you cannot trust completely, but you could be 99.999% sure. You're basically saying,
no, I'm not, Scott.
There is this 0.01% uncertainty.
No.
Therefore, that is it.
That's not what I'm saying, because remember, I said pragmatic solipsism. Pragmatic solipsism is the idea that while I cannot know anything for sure except for the self-reflexive nature of my own consciousness, which itself is filtered through itself, I can accept the experiences I have pragmatically because they are reliable, they are consistent, they are repeatable. If they were not reliable and repeatable, for example, when I'm in a dream, then I'm forced to fall back on solipsism further and drop some of the pragmatism because I can't reliably reproduce the experiences. But the only thing that I know 100% is that I exist. The only true proof that I have, the only thing in the world that I can ever call upon without any reservation is the fact that I can exist and reflect upon that existence.
Yes, but you are 99.99% sure that not only do you exist, but you are a human being just like all these other human beings walking around.
But here's the thing. That is 99%. The only thing I have that is 100% is that I have always existed.
Yes, but if you choose to, discount the things that you are 99% sure, then you might as well just discount everything. And then what are you going to do?
Who said discount them? Pragmatic solipsism. I still react to the world. I don't want my consciousness to end. I do not.
Just because you don't want it doesn't mean you should believe it's not gonna.
No, you're missing the point entirely.
It's gonna.
No, you're missing.
Get used to it,
Scott. You're missing the point entirely. You've absolutely missed the point here.
You're making basically the same argument God people make, which is like, aha. Yeah, you can't prove that. I can't prove to myself 100% that I'm gonna die, so I'm not gonna.
No, Scott, you're.
That's what you're saying.
No, you've clearly missed the point of the argument. The point of the argument is that a pragmatic solipsistic position on the world is that the consciousness will end when I die, and that I should avoid death for as long as possible and experience as many things as I can while I'm alive.
Clearly.
Yes.
So why were you talking before?
Because from a purely solipsistic perspective, as opposed to the pragmatically solipsistic perspective, I cannot but assume that my consciousness is immortal because there is no possible way for me to in any way become aware of the end of said consciousness. But the problem is, with all purely solipsistic arguments,
I think because you sleep and because you wake up after that sleep, then it must therefore be possible for your consciousness to sleep and then awaken.
Sleep is different. I've never experienced going to sleep and waking up again. And not waking up again. So what does it feel like to go to sleep and not wake up?
The same as sleeping, only without waking up.
No, but every time I've gone to sleep, I've woken up.
Those are distinct events. They are not tied together.
No, but solipsistically, the only thing I know is that I exist and that I've never stopped existing.
You also know that, you exist and you think, therefore you are. But there are periods of time when you are unable to think, and in fact, you don't sense or think anything.
Those times are never experienced. I cannot experience them. I don't know that they exist. From a pure...
But you know that the times where you are not experiencing things.
No, I don't, because I don't experience the time passing. You're forgetting, Scott. Pure solipsism.
Yes, even in pure solipsism, you know it is possible for to be unable.
In pure solipsism, you only know what specifically you experience, and you don't experience the time when you aren't conscious. The thread of consciousness stops abruptly, but starts up again, and the only temporality, the only possible way I can say that time has passed are the pragmatic external time measures.
Because you can feel your own consciousness fading, and you can feel your own inability to control it as you pass out to sleep. And therefore, you know that for at least some period of time, your consciousness was, out.
No, I don't.
Which is when you were sleeping.
Because I can't prove that the time exists, that there's any time passing at all, any amount of time between when I go to sleep and when I wake up. And two, you don't actually experience, at least I don't, the moment of falling asleep. There's a point when I'm conscious, and then the next conscious instance I have is either myself in a dream or myself waking up the next morning. It is completely contiguous with no gaps whatsoever.
There is a very large gap as it fades out.
But that doesn't happen to me.
And you don't fade out to sleep?
No, the thread of consciousness...
Your brain just turns off like a light?
The thread of consciousness is going, and I'm trying to fall asleep, and the next moment of consciousness is either a dream or being awake.
Really?
Yes.
That's sort of fucked up, because I sort of go, I'm awake, I'm a little less awake, I'm a little less awake, I'm falling asleep.
See, no, solipsism, Scott. There are moments when I am half asleep or half awake where I cannot fully experience the pragmatic world around me, to where I'm confused by sensations that come at me, to where I'm outside of this world and only inside of my own solipsistic existence. But the thread of consciousness is fully aware and within that solipsistic existence at all times, and I've never experienced a point where it was not there, because just from the rules of logic, I cannot, because I could not experience it, because what I experience is what I experienced, and I cannot experience what I'm not experiencing. Therefore, solipsistically, I cannot possibly conceive of myself not existing, but pragmatically, I know that I'm going to die.
But I can conceive of myself not existing very easily.
But I've never experienced it.
I have experienced it.
I don't believe you. Or at least if you have, you're unique. Or maybe I'm unique. But solipsistically, I can only argue from what I have experienced. And I have never experienced a point where my consciousness in any way faded.
I've experienced many times my consciousness
I have had a
faded.
contiguous
Pretty
thread
much
of
every
consciousness
day.
from the moment of sentience, because I have no memories of any time before that point, until now. It is contiguous and unbroken.
I have many, plus I also have, there are many gaps in my memories.
I have gaps in memory, but not gaps in consciousness.
I have gaps in consciousness when
For
I'm
example,
sleeping
when
I was young. There would be,
I got my wisdom teeth out. Oh, the only gaps I have are pragmatic gaps, not solipsistic gaps.
I have solipsistic gaps.
I don't, and I'd hesitate to think that you do, and I think that maybe you're misinterpreting them, or maybe... No. I don't see solipsistically. You don't even exist, so it doesn't matter. But no, even when I got my wisdom teeth out, I remember very clearly that I put the mask on, and they said breathe deeply, and I breathe in, and the absolute next moment that I experience consciously is sitting on the couch in my house, with there is no transition of any kind. And every time I go to sleep is like that, except that sometimes the thread of consciousness resumes in the real world again, in the pragmatic world, and sometimes it resumes in the pseudo-pragmatic dream world.
Well, I have experienced, being asleep, and
let me
it
put it this way.
fades out very gradually.
Let me put it this way.
Fades back in.
I have not, and solipsistically, I cannot conceive of myself ceasing to exist.
Well, that's you. But I can very much conceive myself ceasing to exist.
Pragmatically, though, I can...
Pragmatically and solipsistically.
I know what death will probably feel like. I expect it. I don't necessarily look forward to it, but I look forward to it in the way that all true academics look forward to any novel experience.
Yeah, I think, that's one of my, more fundamental philosophies, is that death and many other things like current tattoo technology or other such things, scarring, are somewhat or very much irreversible. And, while I want to experience many, many things in life, I tend to, stave off the irreversible experiences for the end or towards the end, because you don't want to do something you can't undo. You've seen it. You can't unsee it.
Yep. Well,
so don't look at Goatsy, until you're old, because you can't unsee it.
Well, I have seen Two Girls, One Cup. You have not.
I will save that also till after I get some sort of, tattoo that I can digitally modify, so I don't have to, it won't sag with my skin.
Tattoo? So what, you're going to get a tattoo of Goatsy? What's this?
No, those are unrelated topics.
So anyway, I don't know if we want to even get into the societal impact.
Well, I mean, it's, a lot of it is pretty simple, If people live longer and we keep making new people, that's trouble.
But at the same time, if we live longer...
If people are healthy, there'll be less healthcare costs, but there'll be other costs.
Say we have biological immortality, because a number of people have brought this idea to the forefront, and there's a surprising amount of resistance to the idea, and not for the reasons you'd expect. It's mostly... like groups like the AARP and the elderly kind of fighting against this for reasons other than it would mess us up economically and socially.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the idea of treating aging beyond your peak age. You're like 21, 22, like the peak physical age, but treating all of the degeneration that happens after that point as a curable disease and putting resources toward curing it. And the idea that no one should ever be subjected to their hair thinning or losing their voice or losing their eyesight or losing their muscle mass or osteoporosis or any of the things that come with age.
Mm-hmm.
And that why don't we...
It's nice when you think of it on an individual level, but it's not so nice when you think of it on a global level, given the other realities of the world. If you solve that problem without solving other problems, you just make all those other problems worse, and we're probably overall be worse off than we are now.
See, the thing is, I don't care. I say go for it anyway.
You've also got to look at the fact that, old people... even if they didn't have these other problems of, becoming old in body, they're old in mind. They actually tend to cause a lot of the problems in our society just because, they're so old fashioned and they don't,
but Scott,
they don't like change.
Then again, look at, there's research that some of the reason why people learn more slowly in old age has to do with changes in the brain and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but people also don't like change. People, even young people, they get to like 40 and they still like the same stuff from when they were, 20 or whatever.
But at the same time, you would have people who have multi-generational perspectives, and you could have humans who could plan for and complete 1,000-year projects.
That would be very good, but it's a balance thing.
Basically, it would force humanity as a whole to reach out to the stars to find novelty and experience.
But I also, while you would have those great things of the incredibly, incredibly old people doing amazing, amazing stuff, I think you would also have a problem of sort of a tyranny of the incredibly old people over the incredibly new people.
Oh, definitely. You would have this very static society where there are people who've lived so long that nothing you do will ever surprise them.
Yep.
Basically, you would create a bunch of Ichijimas.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
And that would be bad, unless we don't get into the Hyperion situation. What if we achieve perfect biological immortality, not immutability, and not necessarily invulnerability, but just, everyone hits 22 and never ages past that point.
Mm-hmm. Well, people can still be killed.
Yes, and we solve the problem of our brains might run out of capacity with some sort of ghost-in-the-shell external memory system.
Mm-hmm. Well, the ghost-in-the-shell technology stuff, that's a whole separate issue.
Yes,
right
the idea,
there.
I mean, look at the idea of external memory gets to the point to where what if I access someone else's memories in their entirety? Am I not now simply them plus my own experiences? So how are they special? Why should they even bother to continue existing?
Singularity.
Yes.
All right.
The way to avoid singularity is differentiation. And differentiation will happen if we never have teleportation. Because then, all right, humanity goes out to the stars. Planets will stagnate because people on them will be the old who have been there forever and have seen everything. But groups of people will travel out, millions of years out, doing things. And their experience will diverge wildly, like the Ousters did. Because remember, the Ousters couldn't teleport.
You're assuming everyone listening to the show read that book.
I don't care. So let's say groups of people go out and have multi-thousand, 10,000, 100,000, million-year experiences where they are so far away that they diverge radically, culturally and experientially.
Well, I mean, this goes back to what I said in the beginning, right? If you're assuming the universe that we live in is the universe, right? Then immortality is kind of blah because there's a lot of repetition and things, right? And the laws of physics are limiting.
Even in this situation, we will eventually, theoretically, have completely filled the universe, in which case the last question comes up and all those sorts of things.
Right. But if you can, the one of the realities of our universe is that it takes a long time to get anywhere because there's a limit to speed and things are far apart. And that, that law of physics in our universe will create differentiation even if people are immortal. However, given some other universe where you could teleport and get places very quickly or things are very close to each other, you could tesseract or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? Then that differentiation would disappear. So it's another matter of immortality would be a lot more awesome in a universe other than the one we live in right now.
But just the idea that space and the lack of teleportation could force differentiation, and you'd have these kind of long periods of nothing, but then radical change as the Ousters came back and had very different ideas about existence from you because they've been gone for 2 million years.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of sci-fi books about that. Of aliens come. They're not actually aliens. They're the people who left Earth and landed on planet who knows what 1 billion years ago, and it took them 500,000 years to get there and 500,000 years to get back.
Maybe because we've gone on long enough, at least for one show's worth. Maybe we should just list all of the media that have shaped our views of this, because people, if someone has watched and experienced and read all of the media that we're about to list, we would be able to have a much more interesting and direct conversation, I think.
One thing I do want to bring up before we end, though.
All right.
Back in the day when I was in the Jew high school youth group, right? The international president of said youth group came, and he did some shtick, right? And his shtick was basically like, hey, some guy gives you a contract, and you could, these are the terms, and it'll make you immortal with all these conditions and such, right? And he's basically, I think it was something along the lines of, you won't die until the sun explodes, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, he made this point, which, while it was sort of a point, there was something to it. And he basically was like, hey, if you would go and get someone to join this organization, right, then you will be immortal because you have this effect on it, right? And, even though it was sort of just a pitch to get everyone to go out and get people to, get others to sign up, right? It's sort of true in that even if you die and your consciousness no longer exists and you can have no continuing effect on the universe, if you have an effect while you are here and you believe that the universe continues to exist even without you, which is most likely true, then, you should just think of it as, if you can just do stuff while you're here, you're in some way effectively immortal. Think about Michael Jackson. More is going on because he died, even though he can't do anything. He already did stuff that's still, so in a way, he's still alive. And he will continue to be alive for probably centuries.
Yep,
Elvis and the Beatles and Beethoven and Mozart and Da Vinci and who knows who have already had effects on society for centuries.
He was definitely big enough to where he will outlast everyone on Earth times at least 30 or 40.
Yeah. So, you think about these people from ancient times, Hammurabi, right? He's had,
Gilgamesh!
Gilgamesh is still around, right? So, barring immortality of the literal kind where you will never actually die, we should strive for effective immortality where your effect on the universe, that is at least remembered and is able to be recognized continues to exist. Because, I'm sure everyone, if you believe the butterfly flaps his wings, just by being born, you have an infinite effect on the future of the universe and some effect on atoms or gravity.
Yes,
or
well,
who knows
here's the
what.
problem. You have an infinite but undirected effect.
Exactly. You need a directed and, some effect on the universe that can actually be pointed out and be associated with your consciousness that was directed and intentional. And, you'll make your mark on things forever. And that is the key.
Look ye mighty upon my works.
Yep. God. Look ye mighty upon our episodes of Geeknights. May hard drives always exist.
So, that aside, Galaxy Express 39... Mytel Legend, Queen Millennia.
Pretty much all anything where people are getting robot bodies, Ghost in the Shell.
Yep, Ghost in the
anything
Shell.
like along those lines.
The Prince of Nothing series, just for the non-men.
Yep.
And Golgotharoth and all that
obviously
business.
anything involving token elves.
Hyperion, Sanctuary, if you want to read about old people tyranny.
Yeah, but doesn't have immortality.
No, but it has Ichijima.
Yeah. There was actually some episodes of the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, not the ABC one, the one that Rim doesn't like, the sort of crappy one with the bad animation, where Dr. Robotnik got some Chaos Emeralds that gave him like immortality and invincibility and who knows what. Those are relevant. I'm the only one in the world who remembers those.
Never mind obvious philosophical texts that I don't even need to list.
Yeah. It's like there's so many. It's like I know there's so many. It's like when I'm actually pressured to think of them, like they don't come up.
You can read Everlasting Tuck. I read it in like 4th grade. I don't remember much about it.
Yeah. Let's see. Stuff where someone lives forever.
Who wants to live forever?
Some people. I don't know. Last question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of covers the physics side of it.
Yeah. Are we done with the show?
The show will not live forever, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geek Nights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.